Hello and welcome to EEXSport Talk. I am your host, Gift Yadike Jr., and here with me is a man who needs no introduction. He is my father. He is a legend. He is a Liverpool fan. That is Mr. Mekan Yadike. And we are here to discuss how much his team sucks right now. I'm kidding. We're actually here to talk about last night's World Cup draw ceremony. Yeah, just off the cuff, first question. Just overall, what were your thoughts when you just saw the group?
Thanks for having me. I must say that um, the World Cup draws, uh, you know, once every 4 years is usually a very exciting event because it's when everybody knows who they're going to play against. This year it was a little bit different because you have 48 teams, the largest ever. And, when I started following the World Cup, it was always, it used to be 16 teams, and then suddenly there was 24, and then we had 32, and now we have 48. What was exciting about it was that the ceremony lasted like over 2 hours.
Yeah.
But as a football purist, all I was waiting for was the draws. I wasn't too excited about anything else. The music, political talk, other aspects of the events didn't really interest me. All I wanted to know was, who's playing the first game of the World Cup, and who's in the different groups. Eventually, it turned out to be quite an interesting one. For the first time, I didn't see any group that I was saying what we would classify as a group of decks. It was just groups that were kind of open with a lot of teams that no one knows what they're going to pull out there. There's a lot of surprise teams in there. Overall, I would say that I thought the event was too long.
Absolutely. It's in America, so we're going to yeah, it's in America, so they have to make everything a show, no matter what, even if it just stay with the team we're playing, please. Like, and that I'm sorry, that sequence in the beginning where they were like, oh yeah, oh my goodness, our country is in this. Like I understand, obviously the host group, that part is always going to be things, but like, you could just you can do away with that, honestly. But yeah, and like you said, the group, that's an interesting group. It's nothing straightforward. Let's address that other point you made. 48 teams, biggest World Cup ever. And Nigeria isn't a part of it. I know we've kind of beat this dead horse overall. Watching that ceremony and just knowing, like, fully, like, it's just absolutely confirmed. Any dreams or delusions just killed on the spot. Nigeria is not a part of the World Cup, not a part of the draw, nothing. I know how I feel. How did you feel?
Well, I've come to terms with the fact that we're not going to be at the World Cup. But watching the draws, where there's 48 countries, out of FIFA has 211 member countries, and there was 48 of them there. And we think back that in 1994, Nigeria was ranked 5th in the world. And even with our FIFA ranking, we're still within that top 50, but we're not going to the World Cup. Talked about it several times, but it hits home because you start looking at it, at what might have been, or which group could we have been in. Seeing South Africa in one group, seeing Congo could potentially be in another group. Yeah, it just made it all the more not so nice.
Yeah, South Africa again will always bum me out. Not as much as the Ghanaians, but especially South Africa. But let's talk. But yeah, South Africa. They're in a group. They're in Group A with Mexico, South Korea, and the European playoff winner for Pass D, which, for my money, is probably going to either be Denmark or Czechia, depending on how the UEFA qualifiers go in March. But yeah, South Africa. They're in there with Mexico again. We remember back in it was the 2010 World Cup. They played with Mexico in the opening game. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought that was really exciting to have that fixture, because the last time South Africa played in the World Cup was actually when they hosted in 2010. And I still remember that day with nostalgia, that feeling at the moment when South Africa, Louis Shabalala scored the goal and just how
Yeah.
enveloped the entire country was, and um, how much of
With my
a
first World
magic
Cup.
moment it was, the dance, the celebration, and then of course Mexico getting an equalizer, and how that dampened the enthusiasm. But just having the opportunity to that they are back in the World Cup and they're taking part in the first game again against the same opposition, it just makes it very exciting. And this time around, they are going to be drowned out because the game is going to be played at the Aztec Stadium in
Exactly.
Mexico City, which has played host to two World Cup finals in 70 and 86. It's going to be jam packed. The entire atmosphere in that place will be the FIFA fever pitch, and it will be a very good start to the World Cup because this is a fairly good South African team, much better than the team they had in 20. I expect them to do better because they're not playing at home. Not with the same kind of pressure that they had in the last game.
That was depressing.
They have a good group. South Korea is a team they need to be wary of. The Koreans have a lot of World Cup pedigree. So South Africa might be able to get something out of the Mexico game. It's a good group for them, and I'm hoping that they will qualify from that group despite having to play against the hosts. But there will be the top two teams qualifying and potentially 10 best. So who knows? Maybe they'll sneak in somehow.
We got Group B, that's Canada, Switzerland, Qatar, and they're playing against the European playoff winner in Group A, which I'm just going to say it's no doubt going to be Italy, right? Because they missed the last two World Cups. They can't miss this one. They're four-time champions. They're gonna force their way back into this one. That's my prediction for this one. But yeah, so they'll be in there with Canada, Switzerland, and Qatar. Qatar right now, I don't think there's not a lot of faith in them to make it through, to even make it through the group stages. But honestly, what are your thoughts for this?
Has invested a lot of money. Maybe they went really ready at the last World Cup, and of course, the pressure of being a host country, they didn't live up. But if they've invested, they've had a lot of talent come through Aspire and other programs that they ran in the build up to the 2022 World Cup. But one team, I think, in that group, Canada, might surprise everyone because the Canadians, just like everyone else, have become almost like a United Nations kind of team with a lot of immigration, and same thing with Switzerland. They have a lot of players from different parts of the world. But it's a very dicey group. If Italy makes it through to that group, this might be one of those moments where the Italians come in on the back of Portugal, and they haven't been to the last two World Cups, and then suddenly they arrive and see Switzerland, the European country that I would fancy, but Canada playing at home with the talent that they have. Jonathan David, they've got some really, really, really exciting young talent, and maybe they don't have as much pressure as the United States and Mexico have because they haven't really been too much of a big World Cup team. But between Canada and the two European teams that will be there, I fancy them more than I fancy Canada.
Yeah. Group C now. We've got Brazil, the 7-time finalist, 5-time champion. Morocco, of course. We've discussed their recent success with the AFCON and the previous World Cup, being the first nation to ever get to the semifinal. We've got Scotland, and we have Haiti. So, I'm interested in Brazil versus Morocco. Scotland, possibly, maybe, I don't know. Haiti, I don't know what it would like. There's an popular meme, polar bear in Arlington, Texas. So I don't know what I don't know, what Haiti can do here.
Well, the last time Scotland went to the World Cup was 1998, and funny enough, they were in the same group with Morocco and Brazil. So I saw the Scottish fans really celebrating, and I think that the way they qualified for the World Cup, this is a less talented Scottish team than the teams they had in the 74, 78, 82 to 98 period when they always qualified for the World Cup but failed to make it out of the group. They have a fighting team, and this group is going to be very, very exciting. Morocco, we saw how good they were at the last World Cup. They went all the way to the semis. Well, Brazil, Carlo Ancelotti, a lot of talent. Maybe Neymar eventually makes it to the World Cup. Who knows? He's been building up. Yeah, but I mean, Vinny Jr. and so much of the talent. They've got the defensive players. They have Gabriel and a few other good players. You know, they're very defensive oriented, especially with Carlo Ancelotti in charge. They just maybe need someone to pull the magic out from. And I reckon Neymar will eventually make that squad. And if he does, then this could be like his last moment to shine, especially with less pressure because now the team has been going on without him. So maybe he would just be like the X factor for them eventually. Morocco, the experience they had from the last World Cup, they're coming in now with a lot more experience than they had from the last World Cup. And just looking at their faces yesterday when the draws were made, you could see that they were very excited. And we've seen them win under 20 World Cup. They will look to go one better than the semi-finals. This time around is that no one is going to look down on them. Everyone's going to know that they are good enough. And so they'll find the World Cup a lot more difficult. Brazil, possible. It's good for them because they haven't been there since the early 70s. I I am looking forward to this group because Brazil and Scotland have always played in the World Cup. They met in '82 as well. But each time Brazil won, even if Scotland tend to start first in those games. So excited.
Yeah. Group D, America. First, they're going in there with Australia, Paraguay, and the European playoff winner for Path C. For that one, Path C, they've got Turkey, Romania, they've got Slovakia, and Kosovo. So I'm putting it on Turkey, I think. That's my pick to make it through. But what are your thoughts?
The dark horse in that group is Paraguay. The tendency always for people to underestimate them in the World Cup, and they've always proven to be very hard nuts. Even though I would say that in the late '90s and a few years ago they had far more, well established, and they had this flamboyant keeper, Captain Chilavert. I mean, they did beat Nigeria in the 1998 World Cup. France had difficulty also, uh, managing to beat them in that same tournament. Australia, they've always managed to come out of their groups. So um, United States has a good chance. They have a good coach, Pochettino. They have some really amazing talent in that team. And playing at home, they'll get a lot of support, which I reckon they will qualify from that group. Australia has also, and who knows, maybe Turkey in the next make it through, but it's difficult to predict and you don't know who's going to qualify. Slovakia has got a very decent team as well, so no guarantee that Turkey makes it through there. So I'll leave that one open. Anyone can go through there.
Ultimately, yeah, I think that's probably the most open path, one of the more open paths. Group B, we've got Germany, the 8-time finalist, Ecuador, Cote d'Ivoire, and Curacao. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly. Curacao. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so Germany, obviously, from that group, and Cote d'Ivoire have always struggled because every time they qualify for the World Cup, they put them in a very difficult group with very difficult teams. And so the world hasn't been able to see, even with their team that had Yaya Toure, Kolo Toure, DJ Drogba, Palu, and all of those stars, they struggled to make it out of the groups. But they have a chance this time around. He's one of the best on form South American teams currently. So this will be one game that they shouldn't underestimate Ecuador, because luckily for them, they would have seen Ecuador against Germany and hope that maybe Ecuador gets something out there. But their second game will be against Germany, and I'm hoping that Cote d'Ivoire beats Curacao. I mean, Curacao is probably the country with the least population and the smallest qualifier, even smaller than Cape Verde. But Curacao is a Dutch it's a Dutch country. They, like Suriname, have a lot of players who end up playing for the Dutch team, and so they would have a lot of Dutch players of Suriname ancestry who will turn up for this team, and so I wouldn't underestimate them because them qualifying is a big achievement already for them. So I reckon this will be the first time that Ivory Coast actually does make progress in the World Cup, and they have a good chance.
All right, Group F, we've got Netherlands, Japan, Tunisia, and European playoff. Pat B has Ukraine taking on Sweden and Poland against Albania. I think for me, it's a three-way between Ukraine, Poland, and Sweden. I'm not sure which of those three can make it through. Albania might. But yeah, the rest of the group, Netherlands, Japan. Japan, I think it was the last World Cup. Japan, I don't know, like they were on fire that one. I was actually rooting for them the whole time.
Yeah, Japan Japan is a solid team. They have a lot of experience now, and they have a lot of good promise book, followed by Japan. And if Sweden do make it into that race, the funny thing about this World Cup is those teams that have not qualified yet, and there could be some real dark horses like Italy in another group, Denmark, and Sweden with the talent they have. Alexander Isak, they have Gyökeres of Arsenal, they've got Elanga, they have Newcastle. They've got some really incredible talents. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, but I think that whoever comes through there, together with maybe the Netherlands and Japan and Tunisia, you never know what the Tunisian team turns up. They always qualify. Tunisia has only ever excited in 1978 when they went to the World Cup for the first time. In subsequent tournaments, they've just been there, almost like they put in so much to qualify and they want to qualify the back.
Happy to be here. We went to the World Cup. Sometimes there's a number of people, but it has to be more than that. We've got more African teams than ever. Come on. Group G, we got Belgium, Iran, Egypt, and New Zealand. Thoughts there?
Group Belgium definitely they are one of the most talented teams. They've got quite some incredible players in their team. I think Belgium, Iran is not to be underestimated, but I think Egypt with Mo Salah, this could be his swan song. He's not having a fantastic season, but for Egypt, he's always done well. He plays in a different role for Egypt. So I'm betting on Egypt to go top of that group. Just because they have Salah and Mamouche and quite a good team that they do have. Belgium also. The problem with Egypt might be Iran whenever they play against themselves. There's North African and Middle East teams. There's always different dynamics to the game.
All right, Group H, we have Spain, Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, and Cape Verde. They did Cape Verde dirty, but we'll talk on that. Spain. Oh, I'm not obviously not like hardcore gambling or betting person, but a lot of bookmakers here in SA and just around the world, they put Spain as like the absolute top outright winner. They obviously right now they're the 2024 Euro champion, and they've got a very young, dynamic, talented squad. Right now, they're pretty much seen as the proper favorite going into this one. Cape Verde, obviously I've praised them, you've praised them. Over the last couple of years, they've been doing well for themselves. They've been developing. They've been surprising everybody, but they are in here with some heavy hitters, so I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's, will do well. It might be a bridge too far for them because Uruguay and Spain are very experienced campaigners, very solid. The challenge for Cape Verde will be, meeting up with this really organized teams. Spain doesn't play. Yes, I agree, they might be the favorites because the team that they won the European Championship with will be coming to the World Cup with 2 years experience because they have a very much young team. And Saudi Arabia, we saw how they beat Argentina in the last World Cup. Who knows, they might look to go one better this time around.
The same Argentina who won.
Yeah, Uruguay are unpredictable. They struggled in recent years. They may, I don't know if they managed to get Suarez to come into to have one last dance. But I think that it's a group that's got Spain, Uruguay, and Saudi Arabia written all about it. But they Cape Verde. They surprised everyone by qualifying.
Honestly, I hope they make it through.
They are dark horses.
Absolutely. The darkest of horses. Of shitty, and that's how dark they are. Group I, this one right here, I'm actually really looking forward to this one. Group I, you got France, you got Senegal, you got Norway, first World Cup since 1980.
No, 2002, when they beat They beat France in the opening game of that World Cup. And I remember going on TV and predicting they would beat France 1-0, and everyone was shocked that I went that route. This time around is different. They're playing France again in their opening game. No one's going to underestimate them.
Absolutely.
The different. Funny enough, that was probably maybe even a stronger French team in 2002. With Zidane and everyone. But I think this time around it will be more difficult because this French team has incredible talent in the team. I think France will be too strong for Senegal.
Yeah, there's also the potential, that potential dark horse here. We've got the FIFA playoff tournament too, that the Intercontinental playoff happening in Mexico in March. That it could be DR Congo if they make it through. It could be, quite a bunch of teams. So that one's rather open for the time being. But I guess whichever team comes in is going to be, they're going to have some competition. Group J, we have the reigning champions, Argentina. They're taking on Algeria and
J.
Okay.
Yeah, before we go to Group J, Norway is in that group, and Erling Haaland
in Group A.
If he produces the level of scoring that he's shown so far in that World Cup, that will be interesting. Hopefully, Odegaard from Arsenal stays healthy. That will be interesting. But the other group with Argentina, Austria, Algeria, I think that group in that order, Argentina, hope Algeria steps up. But I think Argentina, Algeria, but I mean Austria.
Argentina might
has
be.
Been,
I think Argentina is like. It's not. I'm not gonna. I would never write them off, obviously, but I feel like they're in a bit of a transitional phase right now, guys. Because their core right now is a lot of older players. Still the whole. I don't know if that was resolved. If it's still in question about whether or not Messi is actually going to appear this year.
Messi will be there, and they have a fairly decent team apart from Di Maria. A lot of the stars are still there, and they are strong. The Argentina is very strong, and Messi doesn't seem like his age has got anything on him. Still having fun. I wouldn't write about Argentina.
Yeah, no, I
think they will dominate that group.
Yeah, I think I always said that the 2022 World Cup. And also people try to say, oh, it was rigged in their favor or something. I'm not gonna comment on that. But I always look at the 2022 World Cup as the Messi's his I'm him tour, just like literally just reminding everybody he is the GOAT. All right. There's no conversation. That was how I looked at it, and he proved it in the end when him and his team won it. So we'll see how this one goes. Group K, we've got Portugal, Colombia, Uzbekistan, and another FIFA playoff tournament. So there's a chance whoever wins in Mexico to find themselves here. Portugal, I think they're the clear favorites going into this one.
Well, I mean, look, it's Colombia from that group. I think we're lucky that we get to see Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi one more time. This could be their last World Cup, even though I doubt Messi.
Yeah.
Messi might still be there in 2030. And who knows, Ronaldo, the World Cup in 2030 is in Portugal. If he's still playing,
I doubt he'd miss that.
And scoring, he'll be 46 then. And he might want to set the record as oldest player to appear in the World Cup and score in the World Cup. So, and Portugal can win this World Cup with or without Ronaldo. Because they have, even with the passing of Jota, they have maybe one of their most, it will be interesting.
Yeah. Group L, we've got England, Croatia, Panama, and Ghana. I'm about to commit blasphemy here, but I'm rooting for the Ghanaians. They're close enough.
Ghana. I believe Ghana will go through. Ghana always shows up at the World Cup, even though I was disappointed the last time. But Ghana has a lot of talent in that team. Kudus and Semenyo, they have two outstanding stars from the Premier League. I hope they agree to take on a few more. I know that people like Hudson Odoi and a few other ones who haven't joined the team now before. Everyone is saying, I know they were not part of the team, they shouldn't come in last minute. But look, if you want to go to the World Cup, go with your strongest team. And, taking players who can make you stronger. And even if it means players who were not, if the pioneers, a player like Doku who's playing for Belgium, Man City, who have been playing for Ghana, there's a lot of those kind of talents spread everywhere. Marcus Rashford, a lot of those guys, could be playing for Ghana if they had the option. But usually when they're born in England or born somewhere else, they usually choose to represent those countries. But if there are players who have the option to switch before the World Cup, Ghana is not going to have to qualify for AFCON. They should take their chance and
take the chance and just go for it.
Invite some of the talent and the coach that they have. Sometimes they get to a point and then they become combustible. I think that they probably will go into this World Cup with less of the usual hype that they have because their coach is a lot more, a lot more contained in terms of the way he looks at the team and the way he talks. But his belief, he's a winner. He's a proven winner. And the way they've won all their games in the qualifiers means that this is also maybe the last World Cup for Harry Kane. Bellingham, they have a lot of talented players in that team. I don't even know how the coach gets around picking the team. The one thing I would say about what he's done and what the South African coach has done is pick the best players, not necessarily pick players from the biggest clubs in the country. They've just spread their nets around the country and picked the best available players, no matter which clubs they play for. And that's something that's made both countries succeed so far. But Croatia, a lot of aging players, they might still pull something. Panama, I'm excited that they are the World Cup. I always like to see underdogs, but I don't see them pulling any tricks here. Ghana have a chance to go through from this group. They have to start by beating Panama in the first game, but that's how it is.
To do it, yeah. Thanks, Dan. That concludes our episode for today. But yeah, I am really excited for this World Cup. 48 teams, more opportunities than ever, pretty much, and huge opportunities for a bunch of dark horses, a bunch of teams that nobody would have suspected or expected to walk out as the champions or walk out, making it really far. So I really do look forward to next year in June.
I am as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Dad, for joining us for this episode of EEXSport Talk. Thank you all for watching at home. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.